What is consensus reality? The world you see right now is not the world as it is. It is a rendering. Biologically, your brain sits in a silent, pitch-black vault of bone, receiving nothing but electrical pulses. It translates these pulses into the smell of coffee, the color of a sunset, and the solid feel of the chair beneath you. But here is the first fault. We don't just render physics, we render meaning. Consensus reality is the shared hallucination that allows 8 billion primates to occupy the same space without descending into immediate chaotic violence. It is the invisible firmware that tells us that a piece of paper with a president's face has value, or that a specific set of sounds constitutes a country. We call it reality, but in algorithmic terms, it is a low-resolution proxy. We agree to ignore 99% of the universe's complexity so we can function. However, this proxy has glitches. When we speak of consensus reality, we are talking about a fragile truce between billions of subjective internal rendering engines. Every time you walk into a room, you aren't seeing the room. You are seeing your brain's prediction of the room, cross-referenced with the predictions of everyone else there. The consensus is the average of our collective errors. This segment explores the terrifying possibility that our shared world is not built on truth, but on the systematic exclusion of anomalies that the consensus simply cannot afford to process. The Stanford Prison Experiment Revisited. For decades, the consensus reality of human nature was anchored by a single dark narrative, the Stanford Prison Experiment. We were told that if you put good people in bad uniforms, they become monsters in 6 days. This became the hardware update for our collective understanding of evil. It taught us that we are all inherently broken, waiting for a catalyst to turn us into torturers. But in 2018, the archive was audited. The glitch was revealed. The Stanford Prison Experiment wasn't a discovery of human nature. It was a scripted performance. Philip Zimbardo didn't observe natural descent into cruelty. He coached it. He told the guards how to act. He encouraged the harassment. The famous breakdown of prisoner 8612, it was faked. He was an actor trying to get home to study for an exam. The real fault here isn't that an experiment was flawed. It's that for 40 years, the global consensus accepted a lie because it was a comfortable narrative. It gave us an excuse for our history. It allowed us to say, the system made me do it. When the consensus accepts a scripted lie as a fundamental truth, the reality we live in becomes a theater where the audience has forgotten they are watching a play. We didn't believe the experiment because it was true. We believed it because the consensus demanded a scapegoat for the human soul. How language shapes what you can see. Sapir-Whorf Hypothesis. Imagine looking at a clear summer sky and being unable to see the color blue. To the ancient Greeks, including Homer, the sea was wine dark. There was no word for blue in the Odyssey. This isn't because their eyes were different, it's because their language hadn't rendered that frequency of light yet. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that your language is the operating system of your consciousness. If the OS doesn't support a specific file type, you can't open it. In the 2000s, researchers studied the Himba tribe in Namibia. Their language has many words for types of green, but no distinct word for blue. When shown a circle of green squares with one blue square, they couldn't pick it out. To them, it was invisible. Conversely, when shown 2 shades of green that look identical to a Western eye, they identified the difference instantly. This is a devastating fault in our reality. It implies that objective reality is filtered through a linguistic sieve. If your culture lacks a word for existential dread or subtle manipulation, do you actually feel those things, or does your brain just categorize them as general noise? We are trapped in a linguistic prison where the bars are made of the words we use. We think we use language to describe the world, but in reality, language uses us to limit the world. We can only perceive what we can name. The cognitive inertia of great masses. Have you ever wondered why we still use QWERTY keyboards? They were designed in the 1870s to slow down typists because the mechanical arms of typewriters would jam if you typed too fast. Today, we have digital sensors and haptic feedback. We could use much more efficient layouts like Dvorak, which could increase typing speed by 40%. But we don't. That is cognitive inertia. Consensus reality suffers from a massive structural update lag. Once a critical mass of people accepts a method, a belief, or a system, it becomes inert. It requires more energy to change the consensus than it does to continue suffering under a broken system. We see this in economics, where we use models of rational actors that have been debunked for 50 years. We see it in education, which is still a factory model system designed for the Industrial Revolution. The masses are moving on a set of tracks laid down by ancestors who are long dead, solving problems that no longer exist. We are a 21st century civilization running on 19th century social firmware. This inertia creates a reality ghosting effect, where we are reacting to the shadows of the past rather than the signals of the present. We are living in a museum that we've mistaken for a home, unable to rearrange the furniture because the consensus forgot where the keys were kept. Modern collective hysteria phenomena. In 2021, a strange contagion swept through TikTok. Thousands of teenagers began developing sudden, violent motor and vocal tics. Doctors were baffled. It looked like Tourette's syndrome, but it was spreading like a virus through the screen. It was eventually diagnosed as mass sociogenic illness. This is the modern update to the dancing plague of 1518. It is a fault in our reality, where the consensus becomes a biological feedback loop. If enough people in your digital tribe manifest a symptom, your own brain, driven by a deep prehistoric need for social synchronization, might begin to mirror it. We are not individuals, we are nodes in a high-speed data network, and sometimes that network catches a bug. Look at Havana syndrome, or the sudden rise in rare allergies that follow media coverage. These aren't fake illnesses, the symptoms are real. The brain is literally overriding the body's hardware based on social software updates. This proves that our physical health is a subset of our social reality. If the consensus decides that the air is toxic, people will stop breathing, regardless of what the censors say. Our reality is a contagious narrative, and in the age of the algorithm, the infection rate is nearing 100%. The Rashomon Effect. The same truth, impossible versions. 4 people witness a car accident. 1 sees a reckless driver, 1 sees a mechanical failure, 1 sees a suicidal pedestrian, 1 sees a blur. They are all looking at the same set of photons, but they are rendering 4 different universes. This is the Rashomon Effect, named after Kurosawa's masterpiece. The fault here is the assumption that truth is a single solid object. In reality, truth is a collated data set. Your memory is not a video recording. It is a lossy compression file that is rebuilt every time you access it. Each time you remember something, you aren't remembering the event. You are remembering the last time you remembered it. You are playing a game of telephone with yourself. When we scale this to a national level, we get fractured consensus. We live in a world where 2 people can watch the same video of a political event and see 2 entirely different realities. One sees a hero, one sees a villain. They aren't lying. Their internal bias engines are literally rendering the pixels differently. Objective reality hasn't disappeared. It has simply been outvoted by subjective interpretation. We are no longer living in one world. We are living in a multiverse of conflicting narratives, all fighting for the title of the real world. Why the brain prefers a comfortable lie. Your brain is not a truth seeker. It is a survival seeker. Truth is expensive. It requires high caloric expenditure to process complex, contradictory data. A lie, however, is cheap. If a lie allows you to stay in the tribe, to keep your job, and to sleep at night, your brain will choose it every single time. This is predictive processing gone wrong. The brain hates prediction errors, those moments when the world doesn't match the model. To resolve the error, the brain has two choices: change the model, hard, or ignore the data, easy. We call this confirmation bias, but it's deeper than that. It's a cognitive immune system. We live in a reality where we have deleted the facts that make us feel unsafe. We have built a buffer zone of comfortable delusions. We believe we are the good guys. We believe our systems are fair. We believe the future is guaranteed. When these lies are challenged, we don't feel informed, we feel attacked. This is why you can't argue people out of a cult or a conspiracy theory. You aren't fighting their logic, you are fighting their brain's attempt to keep their reality from collapsing. The lie isn't the problem. The lie is the life support system. The architecture of misinformation. We used to think that misinformation was about fake news. It's much more sophisticated than that. Modern misinformation isn't about telling you a lie. It's about flooding the zone. It's about creating so much noise, so many conflicting versions of reality, that the viewer gives up on the idea of truth altogether. This is censorship through noise. In the old world, the state controlled reality by hiding information. In the 2026 world, the state and the algorithm controls reality by making information meaningless. When everything is a perspective, nothing is a fact. We have built an information architecture that prioritizes engagement over accuracy. The algorithm is a reality distiller. It takes the raw, messy data of the world and distills it into the most toxic, high-proof version of your own beliefs. It feeds you the odd whys of your enemies and the saintly acts of your allies. Over time, your reality becomes a simulated echo chamber. You aren't being brainwashed by a dictator. You are being brainwashed by a math equation that just wants you to click one more time. The architecture of our information age is designed to break the consensus and replace it with hyper-personalized delusions. The end of objective truth. We are entering the post-verification era. For centuries, the consensus reality was held together by institutional trust. We trusted the scientists, the journalists, the historians. They were the audit logs of reality. That trust is now at an all-time low. The fault is that these institutions were built for a broadcasting world, not a networked world. When everyone has a megaphone, the institutional voice becomes just another whisper in the gale. We have decentralized the production of truth, but we haven't decentralized the ability to verify it. The result is the entropy of truth. Facts are decaying. Historical events are being re-rendered in real time to fit modern political needs. Science is being peer-reviewed by Twitter polls. We are witnessing the heat death of the objective world. Without a shared set of facts, a society cannot make decisions. It cannot build bridges. It cannot survive. We are currently living in the debris field of a shattered consensus, trying to build a future out of the shards of what we used to know. How to rebuild reality in a world of deepfakes. We have reached the zero-trust horizon. With the advent of generative AI and hyper-realistic deepfakes, your eyes are no longer reliable witnesses. The video of the politician saying the forbidden thing? AI. The photo of the miracle? AI. The voice of your mother on the phone asking for money? AI. The consensus reality is about to face its final system crash. If we cannot trust our senses, how do we rebuild a world? The answer lies in cognitive forensic architecture. We must move from trusting the image to trusting the chain of custody. We need a new humanism that recognizes the glitches in our biological legacy code. We must learn to audit our own biases like we audit a computer's code. We must build cognitive firewalls against algorithmic manipulation. Rebuilding reality isn't about finding a new truth. It's about accepting that reality is a collaborative project that requires constant, active maintenance. We are the architects of the consensus. If we don't like the rendering, we have to rewrite the software. The glitches are not just bugs. They are the devlogs showing us exactly where we need to start over.